Hey, we're back. We're live. And I want to talk today about a bit of a tension. I want to talk about the reasons sometimes for entrepreneurial success, because I don't know that we are always asking the right question or real questions when we want. Let me say this. So when things go wrong in our work lives and we have to decide, maybe we can't work for somebody else, or maybe it's too difficult to get back into the workforce, I want to talk about how uncomfortable those truths are. Maybe not how, but the uncomfortable truths of entrepreneurship that might just be more of an elaborate trauma response than anything else. And that's why I think it's kind of empowering to have this sort of inverted conversation about the fairy tale of entrepreneurship and the empowerment that comes along with it. There's a gap, right? And entrepreneurship has this massive mythology. Follow your passion, there's freedom, there's innovation, and in reality, a lot of entrepreneurs are escaping something, just trying to survive or looking for some level of healing. And society, like I said, it celebrates entrepreneurs as heroes pretty often. I don't think that was always the case, but that is the case in today's digital landscape. And I think sometimes that while we're celebrating them, we're not having the conversation about how many of the systems that create these entrepreneurs remain broken. Period. I don't know a way to sugarcoat that, another way to say that. But there's a couple things, and I'll get into each one. Certainly there's a privilege paradox. Some get safety nets and are able to take bigger or longer term risks than others. And some people are forced into it via exclusion or frustration. So is it all empowering, self-development, self-determination, or just an advanced coping mechanism? I don't know. I actually think it's a spectrum, and there's a lot going on there. I started my business in 2020, 5 years ago just over 5 years ago. And I had been listening to podcasts and reading and inspired to start a business and go out on my own for a decade prior to when I actually started. And I've come onto this program and said I should have started a lot sooner than I did. I don't know if I could have. That's arguable. But I have regret over not starting sooner now that I know what it looks like and what it's like to take that first step and start building the thing. So I think I understand that perspective. And if you have perspective of your own based on any of the things that I'm going to say here or have already said, you can leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your story, to be honest with you. And I do still appreciate the DMs that I get in Slack and LinkedIn based on some of the stuff that I say on this show. Thank you. Thank you so much for all that engagement. But a like, a subscribe, and a comment go a long way to helping the algorithm share this out so that maybe we'll get some live viewers one day. I don't know. So I was thinking about this, and this was actually one of the first topics that I put down when I was inspired to create this live show. It was based on the very simple question on a post from, I think it was sometime last year, from someone that I know, like, and trust. Is entrepreneurship a trauma response? And I kind of been chewing on it for months. And I've landed here. There are three types of entrepreneurial trauma, I guess. Three types, right? There's inherited entrepreneurship, where someone is raised by business owners who taught them how to avoid the employment trap, or how to think think rich dad, poor dad. Like, the way they think about money and labor and the application of one's time and the value of it is unique, and it's different. Not everybody has that experience. So that's definitely a group. The other one is like the corporate or, jobby job disillusionment, where you come up through traditional employment and you get burned or disappointed, or something happens, a couple of short runs and you can't get back in, or a couple of long gaps in employment and then you can't get back in, or disability, prejudice. There are lots of reasons for it. So, and I guess that last one, so corporate disillusionment, and that last one is really systemic exclusion. I certainly see it a lot from an age perspective, given that I'm more mature, and that's a nice way of saying old, I suppose. And I don't know that now that I've been running this business for 5 years that I could get back into the workforce, even if I wanted to, in my mid-50s. So who knows? Maybe not. Maybe so. Maybe it's just you got to dig for really unique opportunities. This is not a semantic argument about that. This is just those are the three different types of entrepreneurial trauma. I don't know if it's all trauma, but definitely the three types of entrepreneurs and how they're motivated to get into it and build the thing. So I think starting your own business, it does a good job of removing shame. So not being able to work for others for their reasons or for your own reasons, whether it's them or you, is definitely socially problematic to talk about. And that's, while unfortunate, it's real and it's true. And it explains why entrepreneurs feel so personal about the business. It's personal and it's emotional. There's a lot riding on it, especially if you don't have a lot of runway. Like, things consistently need to go well, especially early on, or it's a really difficult thing to do. So, but it shows that, business success often comes from solving problems that we personally experience. And therein lies one of the bigger opportunities to flip, right? So there's a certain amount of validation for the different paths entering hero entrepreneurialism, entrepreneurship. So there, and what I mean by that is you have a ton of expertise in something technical, or in industry, or with a product category or something. And that's how you turn the damage or your survival skills, your survival mode or mindset into a product, right? So if you're a good graphic designer, or if you're good at repairing HVAC or plumbing, you can start a business that just does those things and seek some sort of community. I love community. Some people hire a coach to help bring in outsider perspective that's super valuable in a way that helps us be more productive or learn more quickly, so that we can gain a certain amount of traction. And I think that outsider perspective is critical, regardless of whether or not you agree that entrepreneurship is some sort of trauma response. But I think there's a difference between healing through business and avoiding the healing. And I think sometimes, and maybe this is a hot take, I don't know, when we start a business that is just a company, we basically created another job doing the same thing we were doing when we worked at an agency or in a corporation or something. We built just a different trap, and we stepped into it. The same trap, it's just we said it instead of someone else said it. And it's almost like an unhealthy coping mechanism, because there's so much more to do, and we have so much more control over the trajectory of that company than we do when we're an employee of a company. And I think that missed opportunity is it's probably unhealthy coping, but it is definitely a way to work through the healing. Because sometimes when someone is experiencing some level of trauma, and forgive me, this might be an overgeneralization, but we need proof that something is still safe before we feel as though we can either move on from it or use it as a stepping stone for moving on to the next thing. And I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or anything. I'm just a guy here on YouTube. But I will tell you that, you know, when I was laid off from my last job, and they were super generous with the runway, with the severance and everything, I can appreciate that that is a privileged position to be in. And I'm very fortunate for their generosity in that exit. But I had been laid off a few times. And I asked myself, how many more times do I want to subject myself to this possibility? And the answer was none more times. So what I decided was, I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I'm just going to go and do it and figure it out. And I've mentioned on here before that I made a commitment to my spouse. And I said, look, I think if we can get to this number-ish, it's proof that it can work, that it's working and it can work and it can be a thing that we can build upon. And fortunately, we got there and had that conversation. And so instead of having a bad conversation, it was a positive conversation. All that to say that if you're experiencing trauma as an entrepreneur and it feels like blowing smoke because everybody's celebrating that you're doing this thing, I mean, I guess that's fine. But at the end of the day, our why, not Simon Sinek why, but like why we're doing what it is we're doing from an emotional and a healing perspective, I think is a good thought exercise. So, and if this resonated with you, and I don't have some big aha, like get over your trauma or lean into your trauma. That's not for me to say, but I told you how I worked through it all. I think if this resonated with you and you want to hear more of my story, or if there's something I can do to help you feel a different way or something, if you want to leave a comment, I would love that. Or you can DM me in other channels. I know, like I said, people legit do that, which is so cool. I'm happy to continue this conversation. I'm not going to harp on it for a long period of time inside of this this channel, but it is something I've been thinking about for months because I think it's real. I think it absolutely is real. So if this touched a chord, like, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, whatever the things, hit the buttons, hit the things. I super appreciate it. Share it out. Share it to somebody else who isn't yet started, or they're concerned about getting started, or they started and, oh crap, this is hard. That might be helpful for them too. So anyway, it's Monday. Let's have a great week. It's the middle of August. We're just moving right along here, and I super appreciate you going 13 and a half minutes here. I will see you Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. And by then, I will have completed many things on my to-do list. So I will talk to you Wednesday. Thank you.